Hi, welcome to day 12. For today's practice, you will need something that you can use as a block. So this is just a chip foam block that has cover on it. You could also use just a regular yoga block. We will be standing on it, so that might be a little bit unsteady depending on the size of your feet. But you could definitely use the bottom step on stairs if you have stairs in your home, or you could use a textbook or something like that. So you might need to get creative. So if you need to put the video on pause to grab that, do that now, and then we'll get started together. So we're not going to use our block right away, but we will use it in a few moments. So today's practice will be in standing. So maybe taking off your socks so you can really feel the ground beneath you. And let's just take a moment to come into a comfortable standing position, perhaps feet hip distance apart. Take a few deep breaths, maybe sighing the breath out your mouth. One more. And then continue to breathe in and out through your nose. Eyes can be opened or closed here. And let's begin to sense into the heels. Feel the connection between your heels and the floor. And then connect to the base of the big toe mound, or the ball of your foot, whatever you want to call it, and the base of your baby toe. Feeling the 3-point connection between your feet and the ground. Notice how that feels through your legs, through your hips and your pelvis, the front of your torso, and back of your torso, your arms, your shoulders, your neck, and your head. And then let's begin to explore a little bit of that same rotation that we were doing yesterday. So we're going to keep the pelvis still, and we're just going to start to explore rotating the right leg in the hip socket. And if this feels really uncomfortable for your knee, if there's a lot of strain, it just means that there might be too much load in standing. And you can do this lying down with your legs up the wall. So your heel would be resting on the wall, and you can still rotate the thigh out and then back in. Rotating the thigh out and back in. And then we can do the same thing on the other side, pivoting on the heel. And just seeing what your range is without that pelvis turning or wobbling. And let's come back to the first side, and then let's see what it feels like to turn the leg in. So this time the thigh is going to rotate in towards the middle and then back to the start. You notice where you feel sensation or movement, or pull in your body. You might feel a different group of muscles becoming active. And we can do the same thing on the other side. And again, you can do this also legs up the wall. Okay. So now we're going to use our block. And if you're concerned about balance, make sure you're by a wall or have a chair that you can hold on to for balance. So let's start this. So we're going to stand beside the block or the step if you're using your stairs. And let's come into our mountain pose. Finding the 3 points of the feet. And maybe bringing the feet a little bit closer together. And you're going to bring the leg that's on the side of the block, bringing the foot onto the block, but the knees still bend. So we're keeping our pelvis level. And then you're going to start to press from your hip on that leg down. We're going to keep the pelvis level. Let the weight come into that leg all the way down to the foot, keeping the pelvis level. And then taking the weight into that leg, letting the outside leg come off the floor. So now that outside leg's kind of hanging, it's floating, the pelvis is still level. And then start to bend the knee of the leg that's on the block, letting that outside leg come back onto the floor. So the whole time, our goal is to keep the pelvis level. So if what's happening is if your hip is hiking up, so if that outside hip is coming up higher than the left hip in order to take your foot off the floor, just come back and reset and just begin to explore. So maybe it starts as just a pressure down into the block or into the stair, and maybe that outside leg doesn't even come off. Maybe only press as much as the pelvis stays level. If it gets to the point where it wants to hike up, then we pause and reset. So we want to develop that connection between a stable pelvis and the strength required to lift yourself up. And this can be really challenging, but once you get that connection, then it will start to be easier. So don't cheat here. Don't just lift yourself up and then reset your pelvis, because then you're bypassing the whole purpose, the whole process. So let's just try this maybe a couple more times on this side. And if you need to take a break, if it's really tiring, break as often as you need. But make sure you're still breathing in and out through the nose. All right, and then we can switch sides. So either turning around or sliding your block over to the other side, starting from a place where the feet are on the floor, and then the other foot will come up onto the block. Knee is bent, so the pelvis is neutral. So your neutral is whatever it is in standing. I just have my hands resting on top of my hips, just for feedback. So I have to shift the weight into that block leg, and I can feel the effort from the hip coming down the leg, through the bones, into the feet, into the foot. And then it's the action of straightening the leg that brings the other foot off the floor. So explore here. Maybe the foot doesn't come off. Maybe it's just finding that connection. And notice if you want to try to lift up through the shoulders or lift up through the ribs, you'll feel a bracing or a gripping sensation. So notice all the parts of the body that want to help out with this movement if it's not coming super easy for you. Let's just try a couple more times. And you can always come back to this and try it a little bit more later. Okay, coming back to standing on the floor, both feet. Now we're going to come back onto the block, and let's see if we can lift up the same way. Okay, if the hip is hiked or dropped down, can you level the hip and then keep your hips level? And so maybe this is just where we stay and explore today. Okay, maybe it's just keeping the balance and holding the pelvis level. If you can be in a place where the pelvis stays level, then maybe you start to explore letting that outside leg swing in the hip socket. So again, the pelvis stays level. If the leg goes too far, then the pelvis is going to start to do this. It's going to start to tilt and tuck. And then we've got movement through the spine. but we just want to isolate the movement of the leg. So let the movement be small. Can you feel how the leg swings, the pelvis quiet? Shoulders, upper body relaxed. Maybe you use your hands. Maybe you're just feeling different parts of your leg to see what you notice. Okay, and then we'll let that side rest, stepping down. And we'll switch sides again. Stepping up onto the block when you're ready. Noticing the position of the pelvis. And then let's bring it level. And hold here. Notice where the work and the effort is coming from. There might be some wobble through the foot and the ankle. Notice if the other foot's really gripping and really holding on, or can you keep it somewhat relaxed? And then if it's available to you today, starting to explore swinging the leg forward and back without the pelvis moving. Now in the action of the swing and with the effort that might be taking to keep the pelvis still, notice if there's gripping and bracing in order to do that. And then also notice with the leg, is the movement happening at the hip, right? So is the movement, the thigh bone moving in the hip socket, or is the knee bending, right? Is the upper leg staying still, but the lower leg compensating and bending at the knee or bending at the foot? So if that happens, just pause and remind yourself to keep the knee straight, or it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but that the movement's not happening at the knee and that it's happening up at the hip. All right, and then we can come down, feel yourself in standing. Notice how the feet connect with the floor. And then when you're ready, we're going to switch sides again. So taking your time, see if you can come up with a level pelvis. And if you can't, then you're going to do a little adjustment, holding it steady. And then let's see, keeping the pelvis, how far can you bring the leg forward without the pelvis tipping? And then holding it. And so if there's a little bit of tucking, just bring the leg back down, neutral pelvis, and bringing the leg forward, maybe holding it for a couple breaths. So explore here. And then we can also explore taking the leg back into extension. So the leg staying straight. Like you could do it with a bent knee. That might feel easier. Straight leg might be a little bit more challenging. And when you go back, make sure the leg stays straight. And then we can come down for a second and take a little break. I'll switch sides. Okay, foot on the floor, knee bent. Coming up with a level pelvis. And then exploring taking the leg forward. And back. You might find one easier. Notice how it affects your balance. And then bend that standing leg, bend the knee, and bring the foot on the floor. And then stand with both feet on the floor. switch sides. We keep going, I'm switching this a lot so we don't exhaust ourselves on one side. So we're gonna set up the same way again, from a bent knee, level pelvis, coming up. Now we're gonna explore taking the leg out to the side. So we wanna stay vertical, level pelvis, and the leg's going straight out to the side. If you take your fingers, kind of poke the side of your bum, kind of wake up those muscles that are involved in taking the leg to the side. So we shouldn't be side bending or leaning, the hips not hiking up. So make your range smaller if you need to, or explore what it's like to go smaller. What happens when you go bigger? What happens when you go too big? Feel where the effort is. Breathing. And then we can bring the leg slightly forward so it can start to come across the body. And again, let it come through the leg, level pelvis, without any twisting or side bending. You might find the movement a little bit smaller here. And let it feel to alternate. Maybe that's a fun exploration. Definitely challenges the balance. Or maybe you go through all four. Flex, extend, out to the side, forward and across. And let's throw one more in here. If you're still with me, ooh, my leg's starting to get tired. What does it feel like to rotate that hanging leg, the outside leg? Rotating it in, ooh, and rotating it out. Okay. And then to come down, level pelvis, bend the standing knee, let the foot come to the floor, step off your block, and then feel yourself in standing. Okay, let's do the other side. Knee bent, level pelvis, coming up, level pelvis. Okay, so this side we started to explore taking the leg out to the side. Notice that the back muscles really want to get involved here. What happens if you go smaller? Try a couple more. Finding a range that works for you. And if it's stillness, if you're still hanging out in stillness, just trying to stay level, that's perfect too. And then we can start to explore taking the leg across. Feeling more effort now on the inner thigh. And then if you want to explore all four, flexing, extending to the side and across. And you can go any pace, any speed, any size of movement. Maybe exploring rotating in and out. And then step down, bend that standing knee till the foot meets the floor. And then you can step down. And then feel yourself in standing. Feel the 3 points of your feet. Notice the presence in your legs and your feet. Notice how your lower half is supporting your upper half. All right, that is our practice today. If you want to go back and explore a little bit more, please do so and have fun. And I'm going to follow up with another bonus balancing pose that might be fun to explore now that we've kind of explored some strength and stability with our legs and our back. All right, I look forward to joining you tomorrow. Have a great day.